Some in America are increasingly worried now at the prospect of having either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump in the White House. A recent poll, in fact, shows that 47% of registered voters, almost 1 in 2, say they would consider a third-party candidate if both Trump and Clinton are the nominees of their parties. 50% said they would not consider it. Now, one third-party candidate that has emerged in recent weeks, Libertarian nominee and former Republican governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson. Earlier, we discussed with Johnson and his running mate, former Massachusetts Governor William Weld, what Trump calls their fringe candidacy.
I mean, we're totally fringe. We're both Republican governors that served in heavily blue states. We got reelected. We were fiscally conservative, socially liberal. Look, we're running as libertarians. I think libertarians, at the end of the day, encompass the best of what it is to be a Democrat. I think at the end of the day, libertarians encompass the best of what it is to be a Republican.
And it certainly is something, when you look at Governor Johnson, the historic unfavorables now of the likely general election matchup between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It certainly suggests, and many of the polling numbers suggest, there was a recent poll that said 50% of the electorate would love a third choice, regardless of what it might be. And here you are.
Well, when you just do the math, when 50% of all voters that are registering today declare themselves as independent, where's the representation? Polls as high as 80% that say, hey, we don't mind a third choice. Why isn't there a third choice? Well, it's the two-party system. And at the end of the day, is it really representative? I think this could be the death of the two-party system.
You know what? I would say we're not just a third choice. We're a third choice with a lot more executive experience in government than either of the two major parties. And to my way of thinking, a more appealing mix of policy positions. So we start out in post position. So I wouldn't analyze it as a fringe party coming in from the outside. We're right smack dab in the middle. We don't go along with the Republicans' social intolerance and the government making decisions for people in their private lives. We've proved in office, we don't go along with the Democrats' unfortunate tendency to perhaps spend a little bit more than the country is taking in.
And Governor Johnson, you said recently in an interview with CNN that you believe that the social conservatism that the GOP asks of its members is something, not a smokescreen, but you're not sure that the majority of Republicans actually embrace the social conservatism.
Well, I'll absolutely say that the majority of Republicans are about small government, and whether they're social conservatives or social liberals, at the end of the day, they really don't care. Mm-hmm. Meaning, live your life by example. If you're a social conservative, hey, live your life by example. That's how you impact other people's lives. But if you're going to make that government policy, I think starting with the drug war, that's why we have the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world. Look, but for our drug war, we have tens of millions of Americans who are convicted felons that if it weren't for our war on drugs, they would otherwise be tax-paying, law-abiding citizens. 2.3 million people in jail in this country. I refuse to believe that we're any less law-abiding than any other country in the world.
The former governor of New Mexico, obviously the first big policy position, if you will, of Donald Trump's concerned immigration, in part concerned the construction of a wall running the length of the southern border of the United States with Mexico. Unbelievably
misinformed, unbelievably incendiary when it comes to these remarks. Murderers and rapists, when in fact these are the cream of the crop when it comes to workers. Statistically, they commit less crime than U.S. citizens. They're not taking jobs that U.S. citizens want. Building a fence across the border. It's crazy. Make it as easy as possible to come into this country and work to be able to take place. So issue work visas, and a work visa should entail a background check and a social security card so that applicable taxes get paid. Make the line moving to get across the border. And I have to tell you, New Mexico, 50% Hispanic. You know, we're one of 4 states, minority-majority state. What he's saying is so off the mark. And he said, for that matter, he said 100 things that I think would have disqualified any other candidate, but just turn the page to tomorrow and there'll be something else.
It's also an issue that has left younger voters, the polls suggest, awfully disaffected. I know, as fiscally conservative as you would like to be, again, a lot of socially liberal views you do hold, including pro-marriage equality, the decriminalization of drugs. I know for our audience, they are interested in these sorts of topics. With regard to the decriminalization of drugs and drug use, where do you stand specifically?
Well, in 1999, I was the highest elected official in the country to call for the legalization of marijuana. I think that was good news. Bad news, 2016, I'm still the highest elected official in the United States to call for the legalization of marijuana.
You said you've stopped using because you want to be knife sharp?
Knife sharp,
at this point?
Yeah. But I have always viewed the legalization of marijuana as making the world a better place. On the medical side, marijuana products directly compete with legal prescription drugs, painkillers, antidepressants, that statistically kill 100,000 people a year. Not one documented death from marijuana, and like I say, directly competing with those legal prescription drugs. On the recreational side, I have always maintained that legalizing marijuana will lead to less overall substance abuse because people are going to find it as such a safer alternative than everything else that's out there, starting with alcohol. The campaign to legalize marijuana in Colorado was a campaign based on marijuana is safer than alcohol. And all the statistics that were supposed to go south in Colorado have actually improved.
I want to get you gentlemen out of here on this one. To then lean this way, it would seem increasingly that perhaps one of the epitaphs they'll write about this election cycle in particular is that it would seem two parties might not be enough for the electorate as currently constituted and as it is evolving. RNC Chairman Reince Priebus said a few weeks ago, we're not Italy. We don't have 12 different political parties where everybody fits neatly into a box. But I wonder, what do you make then, perhaps, of your candidacy as proof that perhaps there are more than just two ways to do it?
Well, maybe two parties is enough in most years, but these two parties are not enough this year. Look what people think. I mean, they're locked in a duopoly. Neither party wants to surrender the power that duopoly represents. It's kind of like a death spiral embrace. They seem to be more interested in trying to outslander each other than they do in advancing the ball and doing the people's business. So this year, are two parties enough? Not these two, not this year.
Appreciate it.
Oh, thank
Governor,
you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Governor,
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks very much for being here.